the life force of your bond. A power like life itself, unseen for generations. A dyad in the force.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Dyad in the Force, episode 190.
Yeah. And on this episode, we have a very, very special guest. Say hello to my favorite Brit of all time.
Yeah, that's a good one. Hello.
Why don't we start with you telling the good people, what you do, where you do it, and how they can find you.
Yeah, my name's Sawyer, otherwise known as Sawyerism. I have been a Star Wars content creator for 4.5 years now, which is crazy. I do all kinds of things. I do Star Wars science. I do a lot of Star Wars positivity, a lot of like fandom advocacy and stuff like that. And I also have a podcast called Yap Sesh that I do with my best friend Brooke, who is also a content creator. She's multi-fandom, but yeah, and that's pretty cool. So that's me.
Welcome back to Dyad in the Force, by the way.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. We've been going through a huge catalog of guests. Sometimes not having guests. Sometimes it's good to just kind of chill and talk with the chat. But you know, every single day there's a new creator, and we have to welcome them, and we have to make sure that we grab them before the Grifterverse grabs them. And grab them peacefully and respectfully and with consent.
Yeah.
That's important.
None of that Donald grabbing,
On this episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about. I don't really have anything set up for the lore section, so we could just talk casually about that. Unless,
well, I mean, there is something that we can talk about, so we can ease our way to the lore section. I just really quick wanted to mention again, because I talked about it in the pre-show. Jedi Power Battles is coming back. It's a game that was on PlayStation. It's so good. The camera in it is absolutely terrible, but I played the crap out of that game. It is a big part of my love of Plo Koon, and because he was a playable character for some reason, and it just kind of re-goes over the events of the Phantom Menace, and. Yeah, just a fantastic game. It's coming back. It's coming back in January. I gotta stream that. It makes me happy.
Nice. Shout out to everybody in all platforms. We have a lot of viewers on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitch. Stu Quisitor, Craig, Blue Eagle Gamer, James Kenobi, Legacy of Naboo, NVD, Wise Guy Lewis.
One of the things that the game did, though, is it as Plo Koon. It's called a segue. but thank you. No, he uses electric judgment in the game, so that is a question that we get fairly frequently: is can light side users use electricity? Is it true electricity? Do you have to be electrocuted in order to use force electricity? And those questions. It's going to ease us into the lore section.
I mean, that is a good segue. Is the returning Power Battles canon, though?
No.
Or is it just a remake?
No. It's just a remaster.
Gotcha. Master James Kenobi says, we stand with Sawyer. We all stand with Sawyer.
I mean, I'm sitting with her right now, but
yeah, we all sit
I'm standing.
What were you gonna say, Sawyer?
Well, I wasn't gonna say anything, but thank you.
Grab Them Peacefully is a CDE anthem. I'm not gonna lie. At first, that felt like Choco something energy, but Craig qualifies it later, saying Choco, Dyad, and Element. I mean, we're both the Dyad, so you could just say Dyad.
I read it as colossal.
Jeez. Just go ahead and go. Whoopush. Sawyer, what's going on the 15th?
Oh yeah. So I decided that we needed a public giant Star Wars book club. Because a lot of people have not been introduced to Star Wars books, and there is so much lore and so much world building and so many wonderful stories within Star Wars books. So I started a book club, and our first ever book club meeting is going to be on the 15th, which is a Tuesday. And I thought, who better to have as my first guests than the people that brought me into Star Wars books in the first place, which is you guys. So if you have read Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, or if you are reading Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, please stop by on my YouTube channel. And we're going to do, we'll probably go for like an hour and a half, and we'll do our book club meeting talking about the first book in the High Republic, which is so cool. And it's full circle because not only did you guys introduce me to Star Wars books, but you guys really put the pressure on me to read the High Republic. You were like, you got to read it's new. You got to do, because it was new. It was 2021 when it was coming out, and you were like, this is going to be epic. You have to get on it. So I went to Barnes & Noble the day that it came out, and I bought it, and the rest is history. But I think I read it in 3 days to be on your show.
Yeah. There was no way around that. Which is cool because
it was a good episode. It was us and Jay Stoops.
Which is cool because thinking about all the way back then when we all started kind of relatively at the same time, we think about how many new people that we've met, not necessarily new to Star Wars, but new mutuals we've met along the way over the years that also have been reading books, right? And so it's kind of like this almost this catalyst, right? No pun intended.
Also
phase
good book.
2. But Chaco started the Dyad book club, and then we got more and more people into books, and then like a year went by and we started seeing a whole bunch of creators who were reading books or had read books or had been reading books. And so now it's just great, like having so many more people into the books. And particularly I pressured you because like you at the time you were kind of into like Revan and reading those books, and I was like, this is like the start of canon, like the wider and broader EU, right? And so like if you want to stay in touch with that, start it now as it's coming out. And it's cool because now we have our very own kind of corner in the Star Wars fandom where the carpet nuggets can't reach because they don't read.
They can't read.
And it's the same thing with the most recent complaints that we've seen in the last 48 hours with Sister, right? A lot of the videos are like, hey, they just introduced Sister.
No.
And if they read, that's what I'm saying, if they read, they would know she was introduced in Queen's Hope. But of course they didn't, right? Somebody caught a screenshot, and without reading the context or anything about Sister, they had already formed a narrative around it. And so this is how they operate, and that's why, we have to stay vigilant and fight back against the misinformation. Because Sister is very much something that can happen naturally in Star Wars, even in the soft science fantasy of the Camino cloning tech, right? I mean, like you clone the genetic template, but you don't clone the mind. And that's how we have so many different clones with different names, different personalities, and
it's so bizarre that anyone would have a problem with it when you see how different all of the clones are, both physically, mentally, and emotionally. That different ones are going to come from different places, different walks of life, and
arguably none of them are like Django, except in genetic appearance, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's so, but it's just transphobic. That's literally the only because here's the problem. It gets viewed somehow as Disney's pushing this narrative, or they're trying to no, it's that these people only want their belief system recognized. And even though they are still represented overwhelmingly in that same media, the fact that someone else might have a crumb is too much. It's crazy.
Yeah. And we were talking about this in the pre-show. The Grifterverse excels in galvanizing their audience to feel excluded, and to feel attacked, and to feel like their whiteness is being erased and their culture is being attacked. And quite frankly, it is exactly the same feeling as queer and POCs have felt for the last century, right? So as soon as they see what, like we were talking about, Geeks and Gamers reaction to the Fallout trailer, as soon as they saw one black person, they were like, ugh, diversity. But it was kind of like, even though we weren't as militant as them, it was kind of like back then when we were like, ugh, another white person. Like, we're trying to, everyone wants representation for themselves, and everybody should get representation for themselves. But like, this whole movement by the Grifterverse of making someone out to be a villain when it comes to get diversity is atrocious.
And we're talking a crumb of diversity as well.
Yeah.
We're talking, there are a couple of non-binary characters in the Star Wars universe, but there really aren't very many trans, characters at all. We have, 3 non-binary characters, and then maybe 4, and then we have Sister, and that's, the entirety of the trans representation. Oh, no, we have, I guess in the Acolyte, but it's not specified whether that character is trans or not, because she's played by a trans woman, but that doesn't mean anything. So, and she has one line in the Acolyte. So
yeah, that's the thing, right? When they were reacting to the Space Marine game, it's so macho and masculine, but as soon as they saw a woman custode and a black commander, they were like, suddenly it's woke. Just these 2 examples out of the whole game, and that's the threshold.
In the expanded universe, the entire Raytex species were responsible for the Bacta in the galaxy, all naturally transition.
Yeah.
There are species on planet Earth that do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other species besides humans.
I hate to go down the nostalgic rabbit hole, but isn't there the African bullfrog?
We don't talk about that thing.
But life finds a way.
Somehow this whole day has been echoing all of my most quoted movies. Because the Jurassic Park has come up several times today. Fast, Too Furious has come up several times today. Even Rush Hour came up today, and I was like, what's going on?
Sheesh. Shout out to Kenny. I've been wanting to do a book discussion for a good min. I really want to talk about The Princess and the Scoundrel. As a married person, the discussions on how Han and Leia work as a couple really do get interesting. It's one of those things that kind of fell by the wayside. I don't think we ever discussed that book on Dyad, actually. It kind of missed like seasonal hype, I guess.
I mean, I talked about it. I enjoyed that book.
Oh, good for you.
But,
I disagree because I never talked about it. So therefore, your truth is a lie. just how the Grifterverse works.
Especially at the beginning where Leia dances with someone who's wearing a black Jellicani armband.
Yeah, that was woke.
I
Legacy of
cat
Naboo
after
says-
that dude.
Legacy of Naboo says, I just finished Phase 1 of The High Republic, and Light of the Jedi has probably been my favorite Star Wars book since I read it. Interesting.
Okay, well, on the 15th, we're having a discussion where she says we are.
On my YouTube channel, because I make YouTube videos now, guys.
Is it going to be on Yapsa's
been-
channel?
No, it'll be on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
No, I
was
made.
like, she didn't mention what channel it was before. I don't know.
I thought I
It's-
did. It's on
it's
my
at
YouTube
Sawyerism,
channel.
right?
Yeah, at Sawyer. Everything is at Sawyerism. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube is all at Sawyerism. But
SAWYEURISM.
that is correct. But yeah, I made a new logo. I made a YouTube video. It's like all there, and I don't know how often I'm gonna post there, but it's real. Because I feel like for 4 years or whatever, it was always I don't have a setup. I don't have a setup. I don't have a setup, and I have one now. I even
It's a
have a
great
gamer
setup.
chair.
Excuse me.
I was
even
gonna
have pops?
ask. This is the setup, and then you got like new
got pops in the
new
back.
mic and stuff, and like super legit. I love it.
Yeah, it was Billy's birthday gift to me. So
Well, shout out to Billy in the chat. He's not in the chat.
he's making dinner.
I smell profit.
Carter Sauce super chatted 5 credits. Yeehaw.
Hey, Carter Sauce, thanks for the ramen drop. Appreciate it. How
Oh,
spooky
that was a new
have you-
sound effect.
Yeah, it's still I smell profit. But there was some,
Oh.
there was some Ghost of Tsushima in there.
Oh, yeah, I was like, my dude, don't tell me. I didn't
Listen.
hear.
I can't be too on the nose. Carter says, happy spooky season. Who are y'all's favorite spooky characters, creatures from Star Wars, Legends, or canon? Thank you for everything all you do. Appreciate that, Carter. Sawyer, why don't you let us know?
My favorite spooky thing from Star Wars is not really well, I guess it's like brought on by the Sith Emperor, but I think I have 2 answers. I have a canon answer, a legend answer. Legend's answer is the only time I've ever been like truly terrified by Star Wars was the Revan novel when they describe what the Sith Emperor did to Nathema. Just the eeriness of like wiping the cosmic force and it being powerful enough to like destroy all the electricity on the planet too. Just the way they describe, and then the way that they describe a force user going to that planet and feeling the nothingness. I think that's pretty spooky. What?
The way it was described reminded me of the Langoliers from Stephen King's Langoliers.
Mm-mm.
Okay, never mind.
Chocolate's alone for
But then my canon answer is the Nameless from the High Republic, which kind of do the same thing, but just to individual Jedi.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my spooky creature, I guess, the Nameless.
Yeah, I would agree with the canon answer too. I think reading Fallen Star and kind of reading how everyone felt in the face of the Nameless. I often, liken some of Fallen Star to Alien Isolation, where there's some passages that just feels like they're all isolated and alone, and this thing is just lurking around and looming over their shoulders. Shout out to Orla.
Okay, yeah. No, you're starting to swing. I actually wasn't gonna go with the Nameless because I assumed y'all were. I was gonna go with the Suma Verminoff. because
They're just deleted
the
me.
because the way it appears in Solo, like I don't know why my brain does this, but like I can imagine, that planet a long time ago when people were first getting there, and then like ships just go missing. You know what I mean? Like they have a Kraken like legend of a monster that just in this nebula, and I think that's so cool and creepy. Like that there has got to be lore and myths and songs and warnings to children about this creature from beyond, and it's creepy, it's disgusting, and it lurks in space. But I will say I still think about reading Fallen Star when they were going down in a little ship and the Nameless was getting closer and closer, and you were just like, oh, you better not get my boy here. That was a terrifying scene. That scene got me in the stomach.
Yeah, it's a good answer. Legends for me, I feel like I might be misremembering, but wasn't there a quest where you were in the dark in Sotor and you were surrounded by Gundarks? Whether it be like around the event where you had to like inoculate people from the disease.
I don't recall that. The rat ghoul plague is pretty scary though.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, rat ghoul. Yeah.
I was gonna say Gundarks. I don't know if Gundarks are all that scary looking.
Okay.
Listen, I'm a lore master. I'm just kidding. Hey, sometimes I can't. Sometimes I make mistakes. Sometimes. Don't latch on to that. Chat. Louis Alvarado Lewis says the Blackwing Project.
Yeah. For me, Legends, I would have to go with Triclops.
Yeah.
What
Like
the
just
hell?
the idea of him, or like
The concept, the
Yes.
execution.
just yes. Let's see here. Stewquisitor said, I would like to say the Yuzhan Vong are spooky.
Okay. Yeah.
Let's
They're
see here.
spooky, especially when they first revealed themselves. You know what was actually pretty scary to me, and I know this is probably gonna sound stupid to everyone nowadays, but like the first time I read the Thrawn trilogy, the Legends one from Timothy Zahn, and you first run into Rook and his people. For some reason, their name is not popping up for me. But the way that they were described is like this weird gray, but like super strong thing that doesn't speak, and is just following them around trying to capture them. It was that was kind of scary. I did not like that.
You said Rook? Isn't
Rook.
For some reason I thought of Grist. No.
No, I would say Nogri, but I
It
it
is
is
Nogri,
Nogri.
yeah.
It is Nogri.
Yeah. Legacy of Naboo says Borgullet. That's
yeah,
pretty
that's a
creepy
good
as
one.
well. Kiss by Fire says, thank you guys for being a positive and inclusive voice in the Star Wars fandom. Enjoy all your content. Appreciate it. And if you are not following Sawyerism, please follow them. They're
Yeah,
also
definitely.
a voice for positive inclusivity.
The Rancor, but specifically if you're playing Outlaws. It's a lot less scary when you're like someone with the Force and a lightsaber facing him, but when you're just like a small woman and your little furry friend, he was terrifying. And I couldn't find the little thing on the door, so I kept running around the room while he smacked me around. Hated it. 0 out of 10.
Let's see here. Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Looks like that's it for the creatures. Is there anything else? Oh, wait. You know what? I had something to say. Honorable mention. Maybe not honorable mention. Part of the list. The Eye of Webbish Bog.
That was going to be my second one. Because what the hell?
I mean, what even is that?
Also, a shout out to the Sando Aqua Monster.
I mean, it's just a sea lizard or a sea dinosaur. I think
it's a
Vader
sea
was
dinosaur.
scarier. Vader was scarier than the Sando, to be honest. Actually, now that you
Again,
mention it,
If you are the chosen one, it's a little bit less scary.
yeah, the Ender from
Ender's Game.
Legends of Darth Vader, or Dark Legends.
Oh, Dark Legends. Yeah.
comic. It's just it's kind of like the Sando Aqua Monster, but bigger and more effervescent. I'm a Spooky Kitty says that's based. Tell Sawyerism I'm going to sub to her and that Star Wars girl is a mean girl bully. Yes.
Also
I've
a garbage
told her.
racist person.
Or you've told her.
But that's a whole different thing.
Let's see here. The Rancor with wings.
Are we trying to make them?
Oh yeah.
Because
Are we trying to
because if that's-
strandcast a creature?
if that's true, Grak is the Hutt with wings. Dear Lord.
Oh. Jabba the Hutt with Suma Verminoth tentacles. Your turn, sir.
I don't want to play this game.
You gotta. The droids
Bib
crossed.
Fortuna kisses.
Oh man. Oh
Wait. Borg Gullet with Bib Fortuna's face. Master James Kenobi says the droids crossed Geonosians in Dr. Aphra.
Oh yeah, that was really interesting. Those things were freaky and terrifying, and on fire eventually.
Also, I have a message from author Patricia A. Jackson. Live for what you believe and believe in what you love. Nothing else matters. From the Sith Princess. It's a great message.
Which was awesome.
If she's a
Yes.
Sith Princess, what are you, Sawyer? You still Empress?
Yeah, duh.
Damn.
Oh, you gotta. Oh,
On time.
You can't. I don't know. I don't know.
No,
If
I
this-
can see him. I can see him. What's his name?
That's potato.
Did
What's
you
Potato
name him
doing?
after my lag test? Say potato.
For some reason, Potato looked different than. I guess maybe in this context, I'm seeing him at a different scale.
True.
What? KG says dope earring Sawyerism, but also Gorian Salad Shart Jones looks like the booger from hell. So Gorian Shard, basically, but you called him Salad Shart Jones?
I mean, he does kind of look like a salad.
Yeah. It looks like something from like Sesame Street.
That's true.
No, I'm just saying he is Oscar the Grouch. He just tried to get a job, you know, and he was like, I'm gonna make something of myself and turn to piracy.
The Dreadmasters from SOTOR, specifically for that one Republic soldier they ganged up on. I'm not scared of anything in SOTOR because I have my dual-bladed lightsaber with electrical effects and orange color.
I played enough Hutt Ball to get out of this. One thing I am still a little sad at is I wanted to actually see your reaction, Sawyer, when the planet went bye-bye.
Oh, wait, what planet?
um
Oh, in Knights of the
When-
Fallen Empire?
in SWTOR, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's an awesome event.
Which one?
What was the planet? Was that Ziost?
I think it's Um,
When it gets hit with one of those rituals from
from
From the-
Vitiate.
yeah. And then the whole-
Valkorian. Well, no, I
Yeah, I
think
can
he's still
see.
Vitiate at that point.
What was
Yeah, the timeline is pretty messed up.
The timeline's messed up by a couple thousand years. What was the one planet that Revan's dark spirit?
Okay, that's what it was. That's what we're talking. That was Ziost, where it
Yeah.
does the ritual, and then the whole planet that you were just on before is now ash and like barren and like.
What's the homeworld
Yeah.
of the Eternal Throne then?
Zakul.
Oh,
Zakul.
yeah. Okay. I was like, for some reason, I thought they were the same thing. I was like, Ziost. Sawyer lives in SWTOR.
I haven't played in a while.
Yeah,
I need to go back
I wanted to
because
return.
there's more story. There's more story I need.
Yeah, I wanted to return for Legacy of the Sith, in particular because there was a lot of, there was a resurgence of Jedi kidnapping misinformation because of the cinematic. And I don't know. I feel like that's another kind of Grifterverse thing. It's like there was a nanny droid. It was an orphanage. Like, sure, he left the brother. But, you know, there's always Jedi that just do dumb shit. Yeah, we call him Chet now.
Is that what that is?
Yeah. Anytime you watch a video of ours and we say Chet, that's what we
Gotcha.
refer to.
Gotcha.
But the only thing I'll say about that is, you know, we all used to watch Theory. And the clips going around of him loving the sequels, that's who we followed.
Yep.
And then he started hanging out with Geeks and Gamers and he realized the views were there and shifted. And you know, that's the truth because he deleted those clips of him saying that stuff about the sequels just to hide those tracks. So
I like seeing it though because it like makes me remember like I wasn't stupid.
Yeah, no,
for watching
he was a
them
fan.
back. You know, it's reassuring. It was like, was I?
Darren DePaul knocked it out of the park as Valkorian. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a
that
couple of
voice.
things. Now, this is a question I'm gonna pose to Sawyer and Jocko as well. There's a couple of things that I think need to stay intact if they were ever to do the Old Republic. First and foremost is Satele Shan. Okay, but second of all, I think if they can do it respectfully and in line with canon, Tenebrae. And then of course that goes into Vitiate and Valkorian. But if you think about Old Republic, what are your what because I know we have differing opinions as to what they should do about the Old Republic, whether it's like a one-to-one or if they have to change a few things or don't touch certain things. But what's one thing or two things from the Old Republic that you feel they should keep intact? Not necessarily canonically, but like bring it forth into canon.
My number one is always Kreia. As a character, I just think I don't necessarily know if her story can be completely intact with how the Force works, but I definitely think her ambitions can remain the same. And I think that she just as a standalone Sith. That's the one thing I would want to see if I could pick anything. I love Tenebrae and Vitiate. I love that story. I don't know if it could remain intact based on the sheer power level of that character.
Yeah, that's what I mean, my hopes for Satele Shan are relatively intact simply because they brought back meditation, and so it's not so far-fetched of a thing to introduce in the Old Republic. But I would love like the Eternal Throne and the Emperor to kind of come back in a more manageable, we'll just say it, lesser power levels.
Yeah.
In a way where he doesn't make Sidious look like a choir boy. Right? Because that's lore breaking. Like if he's sitting there achieving immortality thousands and thousands of years before Plagueis the Wise and Sidious, then the only argument left is, okay, maybe that knowledge was lost and Plagueis and Sidious were trying to kind of find it again.
Well, I mean, we can't predict the complaints because the complaints are stupid.
The planes are going to be there.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm surprised I'm not hearing about how the existence of Tenebrae ruins the Chosen One prophecy. You know?
It would almost. It would almost, like just the unimaginable power of Tenebrae. But I think also, like, I'm still very, like, in the camp that the original Knights of the Old Republic story, I think, can remain intact for the most part.
Yeah.
I think people tend to have a misunderstanding of, like, what Revan was actually capable of. So I think if we're actually going with the source material, a one-to-one could be done for the original story. I think something like the Starforge could exist in canon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also think, like, just based off of what we've established canonical history, the Mandalorian Jedi War could be a thing as well,
Also, having the Rakatan history, I mean, I just in general, I like that. I like.
What was the signet in Andor to celebrate the defense against the Rakatan invaders? Kenny says the Starforge and the Rakata. Well, I'll tell you what. Not the Starforge, but the Rakata is canon now.
Yeah, Rakata is canon, but I'm specifically saying their history of from the stories to keep that intact.
Blue Eagle Gamer says Sith purebloods are a must carry over to canon.
I'm pretty sure they're canon.
I don't think Sithari are canon.
We speculate that Iscats was of that species, or at least like a derivation of them.
No, but I thought that there was one in some random comic somewhere showed up.
I
could have sworn.
Sure.
Not that I recall.
If you find it, let us know, because I don't think I ever. I like that would have been a huge thing for me to read. But again, like Iscat has all of the makings of like appearance wise, and their very nature of kind of being susceptible to the dark side is.
But I thought that they said Iscat wasn't Sithari.
No, I forget what her species.
Yeah, they even named a species. We're speculating because the design of them is extremely similar to the point where it's true. Like, is this an offshoot? They have the same hands and all this stuff, and a canon analog, a canon different name, more band and core band type of deal.
More like more band.
Awesome book, by the way. That's a fantastic Star Wars book.
Yeah.
You're talking about
Rise of the Red Blade.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
I also love that book also has just the Jedi being like I don't think you're capable of being a Jedi. Send them home. Because there's always that one person that thinks that like the Jedi, because they kidnap, like they just like throw people away. And I'm just like, no. Also, in the Living Force, the people that are left behind are cared for. It's kind of like it's a transaction, really. We would like to train your youngling.
Well, it's I mean, it's just the very nature of, you know.
Picorian.
Yeah, that's what she was.
Thanks, Blue Eagle.
No, it's the very nature of, like, whenever we see Jedi, we're seeing them in these action-oriented things where, like, these are the knights who have, like, we're seeing the cream of the cream of the cream of the crop out doing things. And, like, there are still Jedi historians that are just reading old books. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, there's still a whole lot of other roles out there. So, yeah, they didn't just toss people away. There was a place for, they had a place for them.
Stu Quisitor says, I found what Sawyer was talking about is a Star Wars workbook released in 2021. In a glossary, it describes Sith as being a red-skinned alien. Oh, is there the term Sithari explicitly in that workbook? Carter Saw says, Rise of the Red Blade is probably my favorite Star Wars book to date, but I'm also still working through Phase 1 of the High Republic. There's a lot of books.
There's a lot of bangers in that High Republic series that you're going to be going through.
Oh yeah, I need to catch up.
MJK says the species first appeared in a flashback sequence in the 29th issue of the comic series Dr. Aphra by Alyssa Wong. So what I'm more interested in is whether or not they are named, because if they are not named explicitly, that could be them showing the Picorians.
That's true.
If they are named, that's fantastic. I remember the first time reading Into the Dark, and the first time I had read the Sith sealed away those idols, and I was like, yes. And then in the comics they had that drawn out. I was like, yes, give me more.
Give me some of that meat.
But I think that's one of the more interesting things that we would see coming out of an Old Republic adaptation is the Sith of that time as well. Because as interesting as the Acolyte was in its exploration of the dark side, like as Ludley Headland says, we've never seen the Sith outnumbered. Where I forget what she said about it, but like I just want to see a time where there's a lot of Sith. Before Rule of Two, really, basically. Saito says, I'm a new dad, and when I saw Dooku grieve for his Padawan, I can see why it was part of why he turned. What do you guys think?
Which Padawan? Are we talking Legends or canon?
Unsure if you're talking about Qui-Gon. He turned before Qui-Gon fell.
Yeah, he was already a full-on Sith Lord at that point in time.
How's it going, Alexander? Thanks for tuning in. Choco, did you want to go on to...
I was just going to say, but in Legends, he did have another apprentice who was a girl who... She actually fell to the dark side quite a while before that. But it's interesting because they've made it seem like those were actually her lightsabers that were given to Asajj Ventress. So a weird broken connection in there from the expanded universe. I think that's funny.
Oh man, I can't wait until we get to the main segment, which is the return of Mace Windu. But why don't we go shift gears into our next segment, which is the lore segment. And anybody in the chat across all platforms, whether that be YT, Twitch, or TikTok, leave your lore questions in the chat, I guess. Chaco, why don't you lead us off? What are we talking about today?
Everything you know about Star Wars is wrong. And today we are talking about Force Lightning. And what we know about it, what we don't know about it, who can use it. Is it true that only a Sith Lord can use Force Lightning?
No. It's also not true that you need to be hit by it in order to use it. It's also not canon that the lightning that Sidious used, because it was blue, was not true Sith lightning. This, of course, comes from Darth Plagueis, I think, right? The novel, the Legends novel Darth Plagueis, where he talks about the lightning that other Sith use are just a facsimile of what true Sith lightning is, and that's the purple Sith lightning. But that's Legends, and that's, you know, if you love Legends, that's cool, it's valid, you know, but it really doesn't translate well into canon because Sidious never used purple lightning, and so it would be kind of weird to say that Sidious wasn't using true Sith lightning. He's the Emperor.
That's a really good point. In addition to that, right, we saw Rey use Force Lightning by accident. I mean, it's really brought on by a heavy emotional state, and it's not that a Jedi can't use it; it's that a Jedi wouldn't use it. Its only purpose is destruction, and it's antithetical to their belief system, their philosophy, to how they access the Force. But to say they wouldn't be capable of it just wouldn't be true. Count Dooku, well before he turned to the dark side, used it. He fried a whole room full of people on accident.
He was trying to save
as
Qui-Gon.
a kid. Yeah. He did use it to save Qui-Gon as well, intentionally. He was being a dick.
Is that against,
shout out to Dooku Jedi Lost.
Was that against Shonda Mar? Was that her name?
I can't remember, but yeah, it's.
I feel like I'm mixing like the Darth Momin's master with. Never mind. Keep going.
No, but it's important to just think of like who the Jedi actually are and how they operate. You know, I mean, like one thing I talk about often is Reith's reaction to someone being held hostage in front of him, and he was like, well, I can get to him and take him down with a lightsaber, but I'd rather not kill anyone. I can free them by taking his foot or his arm. Arm prosthetics are cheaper and easier to maintain and more comfortable, so that's what I'm gonna do. He did only what was necessary to produce the most peaceful like outcome, and so like to think a Jedi is going to conjure up like the anger and hatred necessary to fry people is just not a thing. And so that's why, even though Electric Judgment is super cool, you are talking to the two people who love electrical powers more than anyone. Like it's actually
Shout out Sailor
like,
Jupiter.
to a stupid degree. We love it more than anyone, and I wish it was canon. Sort of, but it's not, and that's okay.
It is canon necessarily, but there's a huge difference between its utilization in canon. And what I'm referring to is Yoda in The Last Jedi. His lightning was conjured from nature. And I would argue that is more in line with the name Judgment than Plo Koon's utilization of it. But even that serves as a distinction between how do I know the good from the bad. It is something that you will know.
You will know.
Yoda's conjuring it from nature. Has no ill intent whatsoever. He's calm. He's calm. At peace, passive. And the Sith conjure it from their feelings and are their own conduit. Which is why Mace was able to deflect it, and that's why Rey was able to deflect it too. Do you think? A question for the panel and Chaco. Like, do you think you would be able to use Vapad to deflect a natural lightning bolt from the sky?
Bro, I can't think faster than lightning from the sky. Which
makes it pretty cool if you ask me. Spooky Kitty says purple lightning is a sign that Prince is angry in heaven.
That I believe to be accurate.
What about you, Sawyer? You think you can deflect the lightning from the sky?
Also, Zero the Hutt
No.
can do purple lightning.
No.
Hello, Billy.
Say
Hello,
hi, Billy.
Hi, everyone. Oh.
Did he just bow? That's racist. Just kidding.
No,
He
He said hello,
saw
everyone.
Pepe.
I was like, is that an Asian joke? What's going on? Did he take his shoes off?
Is he trying to dap me up now? What?
no. He just almost ate shit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
He wanted to know when this show would be over so that we can eat.
Well, if you have a hard out, it does. We can accommodate that, but it's typically an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
But we in most cases we go for as long as the conversation is groovy. Like we don't typically be like, stop talking. We gotta end this. So Chaco sent me something.
While you're pulling that up, Sawyer, what are you excited about? What's got you motor running? I regret that phrase. That was not meant. That was not. Okay.
In general, like about Star Wars.
Star Wars or life?
Well, I'm looking forward to Skeleton Crew. What I'm really presently excited for is the publishing panel this coming week at New York Comic Con. Really stoked for what's in store. And also to meet Christina Ariel because we're mutuals and I've been trying to have her on the podcast and
Oh yeah.
I'm really looking forward to meeting her because we've been talking back and forth trying to coordinate.
She's
But
delightful.
yes. So, and I'm looking forward to New York Comic Con. As interesting as the last Comic Con experience I had was, I am looking forward to meeting more people and making new connections. And I'm also really excited for Celebration. So
Yeah.
You're going to Tokyo?
I'm going to Tokyo. Yeah.
Dang. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. I think it depends, but Billy and I are talking about doing an Avar Elzar thing. He's reading Light of the Jedi for the first time, which is awesome. So I think we might do Avar Elzar. I don't know. But yeah, I'm. That's we've been.
PG. There are gonna be some. Listen, there are gonna be some High Republic fans that see that, and they'll be like, Leave space for Jesus.
But yeah, I'm really excited. I'm trying to put a panel together for that con, so we'll see. But
Right on. Hopefully you record that.
yes, if we get approved, we certainly will.
Awesome. This is the image that Chaco showed me. Nope, that's the wrong one. Never mind. Keep going, Chaco.
Now I'm trying to bring up the stream. You're like, what did he show up?
That's the one that I need to do.
It was a picture of Sophia from Cat's Eye, wasn't it?
No, it was a picture from the last stream. I was showing who I wanted to play Asajj Ventress in live action.
Ah. Okay.
Oh, it was from Yoda's Hut, actually. So this is the picture that Chaco sent me. This is from the comic that I believe James Kenobi was talking about.
Yes.
But this is not... So this is... I mean, it looks like they're showing his cat's species, but it doesn't name them as Sith. I also love the onomatopoeia for Vumshuk. This is pretty cool. So, I mean, at least we can say that that species is canon. Whether or not that's Sithari or Picorians, this remains to be seen. Maybe we can ask Alyssa Bong. I'm a Spooky Kitty says, I'll be your security at Comic-Con, Sawyer. Spooky Kitty, are you going to New York Comic-Con? Leave it in the chat. Chris, we have Chris in the chat as well. I haven't finished the book yet, but I will leave a comment and a like.
Shout out to Chris, because I'm not... The only reason I'm going to New York Comic Con is because of him.
Hey, hopefully you guys are traveling in a big group. I kind of regret not going to this Comic-Con, simply because it's... I always tell people to travel in big groups because you never know, right? You need to have each other's backs. But yeah, Chris, we're not talking spoilers for The Glass Abyss. We will be talking just in general what we think is going to happen. But yeah, that is the subject. If you want to stick around and kind of speculate with us, you can, but we're not doing any spoilers. I mean, we're not aware of any spoilers at the very least. At least not enough. I've read 6 chapters, but that's hardly anything in a book this big. There are Sith hunters who hunt threats to the Sith. Oh, they are? Or you're just saying that there are? Rise Blue Sun says we love Sawyer. Are they from your community? Are they all showing up for you?
There are a couple people who showed up for me. Rise Blue Sun is just in the community in general, though.
Yeah, Rise Blue Sun's all over the place. And I appreciate them whenever I
don't
see
know
them.
why.
And frankly, I mean, y'all rode real hard for me this week, so thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And the follow-up response from everyone, including shout out to Khan, shout out to Captain Goofy Hunter, shout out to Mattman, shout out to everybody who jumped on and made it very, very clear that, you know, we stand with Sawyer. And just so that this is out there, you don't need to yell to harass someone. That is not a qualifier. If you look up harass on the dictionary, it is an unwelcome, uninvited intimidation.
It's so interesting.
Also,
go ahead.
Oh, I didn't mean to talk over. Well, I was gonna say, if you're at a con, of course you yelled at them. You have to yell at people at cons. So yeah, it was definitely yelling.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's fine. It's fine, but it very much was like a step out of the group and raise your voice at me situation. Like, yelling is the only word that I would use to describe what actually happened. So,
I mean, the bottom line is it should never happen. You know.
listen, if you need to project, you're yelling.
Yeah. If you need to approach someone at a con, whether it's to take their photo or to say, "Hey, I'm a big fan," do that. Ask their permission. You know, be very, very cordial and respectful. But there should never be.
And please introduce yourself. Like, I think going forward, because it's happened before. I have been approached at cons. I've been, people come up to me and say that, but please introduce yourself. Don't just like jump in front of me and be like Sawyerism. Like, that's scary.
Yeah, that's an ambush too. But yeah, I mean, like, be respectful when we talk about.
And if
con
I'm
etiquette,
there, don't do it. I don't want to go to jail.
listen.
I'm just saying.
We both have our number one response to getting ambushed. Chuck's like, you did.
It's happened before.
I was trained by my uncle, and a couple of years ago when I brought my uncle to Universal Studios and a zombie jumped out to give him a scare, he literally almost knocked him out. That's something that's ingrained in you, so don't approach anyone with malintent. Just ignore them. If you don't have anything nice to say, ignore them. Also, Rise Blue Sun says, don't worry, we love you guys too. Also, to be recognized by you guys. Sawyer's been a huge friend of ours since the beginning. So it's not like we're recognizing Sawyer. It's just we've always been friends, and like she was on Dyad in the Forest way back in the day when we were first starting.
Chaco's show was the first show I was ever on.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was the first show in the community.
Oh, okay. So I totally misread that situation. Rise Blue Sun said recognizing me. I mean, this is what we do. This is our podcast. We love to engage and speak with our audience. So whoever is in the chat.
For anyone who is curious, that is exactly how I intend for the book club to go, because it's got to be a conversation with the book club participants. So it's a community. If you're not acknowledging the members of your community, then what are you doing?
You're grifting.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to cast a wide berth, but that's literally like they don't care about their community. They're gonna start their videos being like, you guys they're attacking you. They're attacking Star Wars fans. By some men, she obviously means you. They don't care about you. They care that you bring in the money.
I like that I could read your mind and you were picturing Markion Rowe convincing all the Nile to attack.
The Jedi don't care about you.
I had to explain to someone at LA Comic Con last weekend that it is Markion, not Marchion, and I witnessed like the soul crushing of their like.
Yeah, I mean
that's why I say Marchion, and everyone's like, "What? Don't worry about it, Marchion."
It's Mark Hean. I mean, not to spoil next week's special feature, but we did interview Mark Thompson. And I mean, it's well known that the pronunciation goes back and forth in all of the audiobooks. But that's to say you can say it however you want. But it's just like AT-AT and AT-AT. But canonically, it is Markion. That is how his parents called him. I'm just kidding. they hate you. They hate you, but buy my lightsabers. They hate you. Yeah, that's the grift right there. It's awesome because that was literally like the latest video from Chet. It's it's like, oh, we heard from Daisy Ridley again. Also, theory sabers. And it's just like, buy this for $600. You got your mind. Seriously, in this economy. Go to Level Up Saber, get yourself like a sub $200 lightsaber with all the colors, better than a stick. Use our code Dyad7 to get 12% off. And that is how you grift. Respectfully.
This was sponsored by Disney. By
If
Kathleen
only.
Kennedy directly.
Sponsored by Pablo Hidalgo and anybody that has disrespected the Star Wars fan by virtue of a grifter. Luke's in the TikTok. Pod Wants Podcast. Shout out to Pod Wants Podcast. Look who it is. Who is it?
Yeah. Who would do? Who would be? Who you is?
Nick Amarillo says, just got done driving to my hotel. Right on. You're not late. Not at all. You are, but you're not late.
Do you guys not post these when you're done with the live?
What?
Do you not post these when you're done with the live?
Yeah, they go up with VOD.
Because a couple people have been like, gosh, like I saw a comment that was like, I wish this is at 11 a.m. Well, go back and watch it. Like,
yeah. As soon as we end this episode, it's literally on the YouTube channel. I have kind of ramped up the effort to post clips. I just posted a clip with Patricia Jackson, a clip with Katarina Cruz. And 7 minutes ago, a scheduled clip with Chloe, Lightsaber Queen, also went up. So, yeah, I'm just being better at this stuff now. So, you can always catch the VODs here on YouTube and on Twitch now as we've started to simulcast across all platforms. And if you see in the chat towards stage right, all the chats are in there too, so you guys can see each other's messages no matter what platform you're on. But yeah, where are you driving into your hotel? Are you traveling, Nick? James Kenobi says Mark Yenro is being a badass grifter.
Has anyone read Ewoks issue 1 yet? I have not read it. I saw that it was coming because it just dropped this last Tuesday, right? I saw that cover and I was like, that cover goes hard. This has Ewok Hunt written all over it, and I love those tiny little murder bears.
Yeah, I think during Yoda's hut, somebody was like, "Remember the Ewok companion?" I can't believe I forgot Treek.
Treek, of course.
I for some reason the last time I played SWTOR, I had just gotten the Jawa companion.
Grizzle? Riz?
Riz?
The Rizzler?
Question for everyone in the chat, as well as Sawyer and Chaco. Do you say Riddler or Riddler?
I've never thought about it. I say Riddler.
I think I say Riddler.
Yeah. I say Riddler too.
I think.
Like Riddler on the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was watching someone's video about the Riddler, and they were like Riddler. I was like, huh? That's what the Riddler does. He riddles. I'm like, yeah, but that doesn't make sense to me. I've always said Riddler. And like riddle. Hey, that's a neat riddle.
That sounds like, well, me, my entire life over pronunciating things.
Dale asks, what did you guys think about Star Wars Outlaws? Sawyer, have you played Outlaws?
No, I really wanted to, but Billy refuses to buy it until it goes on sale.
I mean, that's valid. But as soon as it goes on sale, I think you should kind of surf.
No, I want to play it. I want to play it, and I want to stream it because I have things I can do that with now.
Are you
Nice.
are you on PC now?
No, not yet.
That sucks. Because I was gonna suggest going to G2A because they typically have pretty good prices after a couple of months.
No, I'm still PlayStation, but
I'm sure
I
it'll go
like
on
my
sale.
PlayStation.
I'm sure we'll find it on sale.
Hey, it's still a massive upgrade. I don't think you guys understand. Like when I first met these guys, they were like, "Get on PC, play video games," and I was playing no video games. And now I play lots of video games because I have a PlayStation.
No, it's cool. I mean, I still love my PlayStation. I just don't play it very often anymore. It's sad.
Yeah, but the good thing about that
Just the
is-
exclusives.
The good thing about that, as you say, exclusives, is that they are ramping up their day one launches across the board, right? I think Helldivers 2 was the first one that was day one multi-platform launch.
Yeah.
So I think there may be a day or a time where, you know, their exclusives are just, they release day and date, just across the board.
But to answer the question, I thought it was a great game. I enjoyed the heck out of it. It's fun. I don't think it's not groundbreaking. I don't think it did any specific one thing better than any other game.
Hello,
But
Krista.
I think it did a lot of things very well. And you just get to exist in Star Wars, you know? And I don't know. I mean, even after I had completed it, I had fun just like rolling up, hopping off my bike, sliding through a hole in the wall, popping out, and start capping people. You know,
Yeah.
like
It's
it's a lot of fun.
It's a fun game. It's a Star Wars game, and if you love being in the world of Star Wars, it's a great game to play to be in Star Wars. You know, running around Kijimi, running around Tatooine, finding the Lars homestead, and just being in that world is already fun enough. You know, I have my issues with some of the game mechanics, the controls for speeders and stuff, and some nitpicks here and there, but there's nothing in that game that truly rings terrible or bad. I think a lot of my gripes is offset by the fact that I'm in freaking Star Wars. I can go to these planets and just, you know, look at people living, doing their jobs, make 500,000 credits off of Sabak.
Oh man, I mean, getting to go to Akiva after reading the Aftermath books and then visiting that planet, you know, several years before the book takes place and seeing the breadcrumbs of what is going to lead to certain things was awesome. Like the attention to lore and stuff was really cool. So yeah, for me, it's the Spider-Man 2 of games, right? Spider-Man 2 came out. It's a great game. I had a blast playing it. It was never going to win Game of the Year. There's people who still argue. Those people don't play video games. They just like Spider-Man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do
As
have
a Star Wars fan, this is fantastic.
I do
That's
have
what I'll
a guest article that I'm gonna write on a website, and it's about the loss of game scores don't matter anymore. And it's gonna harken back to the days where we used to buy magazines like GamePro or GameFan and look at the games we were excited about to see scores from like 65, 70, 75. Be like, oh, okay, that's pretty good. Nowadays, if it ain't Game of the Year candidate, it's not worth playing. And that's an unfortunate sentiment because games that scored like 70, 80 are still good games. Even games that score 60, because the score was relative to the person playing it and also represented some really nuanced criticisms. But games now with their scores are very much a representation of their position in the overall landscape of games. And that's why a game needs to be Game of the Year, or it's gonna be a flop. You know?
It's really interesting. Like, I don't know. The game Starfield comes to mind. I enjoyed playing Starfield myself. And I feel like it's widely regarded as a bad game or a failure, but it was actually super successful, and a lot of people still play it. And there's a weird disconnect with what is actually happening versus how something is talked about online, which makes game scores just a weird thing in general nowadays. Because now the livelihood of the raiders also seems tied with the success of the article written, which then is determined by like the crowd it's aimed at and who finds it. There's just a lot of weird things. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's also like it's been appropriated by the carpet nuggets.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as listen, there's this one creator that I was also like, as part of my research for this article, there's one creator who was having an absolute blast with Starfield. The first 8 hours of his stream was absolute fun. He was raving about the mechanics, raving about how much he loved it. And someone then pointed out that you could choose pronouns. And that's when everything went to shit for him. And his interaction with the game took a 180. And I was like, you just loved this game. And this one thing is causing you to take a U-turn with your feelings.
Yeah. I myself, massive Dragon Age fan. People were doing the same thing with the upcoming Dragon Age games because you can give your character mastectomy scars as part of the character creation, which I think is cool. But people are like, no, why would they have scars if they have like magic? And you're like, but you can put scars on your face and stuff too. Like, I don't even understand. You don't have to use that option. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The hair physics look great. I'm so excited for that game, man.
That's on the 30th, right?
2nd of next month, I want to say.
Really?
Oh my god, next month is November. What the heck?
No.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been wild. Times go by fast, especially when you're
Not only that, but I just
a
want to say
zombie.
when I met you guys, I was like 19 and I'm 24 now, and that's crazy.
That is crazy.
Dang. If this
How
was
dare you put that on?
Listen, if this was a year from now, I'd be 40. And that would have been even because it's okay because I'm still in the 30s. But as soon as you reach a whole new number on the first digit, man, we did start at 19. December of 2019. No, I started December 2018. And then the pandemic happened. That's crazy.
I have a random question. It's complete non sequitur from what we're talking about, though. Sawyer, if we were to take the personality, the innards, the everything you love about the character Lightning McQueen, and put it into a Star Wars character creator, what would pop out the other side?
I also have a relevant question. Does Lightning McQueen buy car insurance or life insurance?
He buys life insurance, and that's been made very clear by the people at Pixar. They're like, they're people in the world. Okay. Gosh, that's a great question. I feel like you're gonna get
That was a full inhale and exhale.
You're gonna get. Well, first of all, I've been drinking alcohol out of my Lightning McQueen cup. So,
Of course.
That's how you do it.
as one does. But I think you're gonna get a cross between Leox Giassi and no. Like Luke Skywalker. I think that's what you get out of the character generator. Because you have the Leox Giassi does not have main character energy, but Luke does. So that's where that comes in.
Which Luke?
But yeah. What like Return of the Jedi Luke.
Okay. I don't know why nowadays every time Luke enters the conversation, I have to do Josh's shtick. A minute ago you want to leave and now you want to stay? That Luke or Return of the Jedi Luke. Got it. I can see it. I can see Leox and Luke. That's a good one. Nasty Man says Leox and Anakin. I mean, by
See, I can't stand Anakin, so to compare him to my guy, Lightning McQueen, is like, ugh. Ouch.
Let's see here. I was raised conservative, so I was raised to believe there's only two pronouns. This is America, so he pays for both. Oh, wait, no, the two opposite sentences.
Oh, young Anakin? Okay. Okay, young. I can see that. Young Anakin and Leox.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Are you an angel?
Now this is racing.
I don't know if y'all listen to the audiobooks, but the guy does Matthew McConaughey impression for Leox. Yeah. I mean, it was
Absolutely.
destined from the start. Especially like we all read him as Matthew McConaughey, and then I forget which book, which subsequent book it was. I think it was another Claudia. I think it was Fallen Star, right? That where he says, "All right."
Yeah, I think it
like-
was that book where
they
they
went
They
full.
leaned into it hard. I mean, that's Claudia Gray. I mean, specifically told us like that was her inspiration for the character.
Yeah. Rise Blue Sun says, "I envy you three for being so good at being content creators. I always want to do things like this." Well, you can,
Do it.
especially on TikTok,
Just
when you
do
can
it.
just use your phone.
You can use your phone for YouTube too, I think.
Yeah, I think for the most part, when people see setups like ours, it's a little bit intimidating. But I mean, for context, I've been doing this for years. I have like 6 mics that I've bought over my career. I have several desks that I've changed out. I have several computers that I've gone through. This all didn't happen when I said I'm going to start making content. If you go back to the very beginning of Dyad and the Force, we look pretty cheap.
I love my old videos. I think I want to simplify again.
Here, go
But
back to the next one.
I mean, I still to this day edit all of my videos that I make on TikTok, or like if I post on Shorts or Reels or whatever, I edit all of those on TikTok.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. And if you're worried about your niche in content creation, I always say just start with what you're passionate about. Don't worry about whether or not it's being spoken about or it's being covered. It's just like me and Chaco. We can both make the same video on the Force. It's 2 different videos because we have different voices. We have different perspectives on certain things. So even if we are both, or even if us 3 cover the same topic, we all have different approaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, like, don't make content just to make content, I think is the big thing. Like, if people are going to know if you're just doing it because you think you have to, it like Element said, make content that you want to make. And I think, you know, the second that I stopped caring about what I was posting to TikTok, my life became so much easier, because I can just, if I want to post a merch haul, I'm going to post a merch haul. If I'm going to post a rant about something that's happening in the fandom, that's what I'm going to post. Like, I just use it as it's like a diary. Talk about what you want to talk about.
Yeah.
And don't pay attention to, you know, honestly, especially on TikTok, the algorithm is always changing, and it's usually not in favor of the passionate creator. So just post what you want to post.
Yes.
I mean, that's my secret, Cap. I've never cared.
I've cared to a degree. I mean, I care enough to now make videos with my nice camera instead of my phone, and that's just a personal choice that.
No,
it's
a whole workflow. My philosophy is 80% and go. And like, and if you want to keep going, keep going. But I mean, like, I prior to this, you know, had an issue with making something, but it wasn't perfect, and I need it to be perfect. And I'm like, but I don't know the necessary information for it to be okay. Well, I'm gonna learn this program so I can do this thing, because then it would be perfect. And like, now this thing is gonna be now I need like a degree in different things before I can start making my first video. And so that's why I'm just like, I can't think like that. Maybe some people can, but after I pass that 80% mark, I will continue working on it until I'm done, but that does not go back into the vault. It's getting released at that point, you know.
Yeah. Certain things become signature as well. Like, I think for a lot of the early portion of my content creation when I was using my phone was this guy right here.
Poking through the chair.
Yeah, that was a huge signature. No matter what I was talking about, there was 20 to 30 comments of Grogu staring at my soul. And then now the signature is this angle using this camera. So it's often like a personal thing of mine to be like, I can't do it on the phone anymore. but make content with your phone. Make content with anything that you have at your disposal. I think content creation is nowadays is probably the easiest it's ever been to get into.
Oh my god. Yeah, the tools are there, the people are there, but it's also just therapeutic to just let things out. But So you look like you were going to say something.
Oh, I was just going to say that due to the nature of the Star Wars fandom, I think that there is never such thing as an oversaturation of positive content. So if you want to talk about something that a million other people have talked about, that's fine, because people in the Star Wars fandom just like to see other people enjoying Star Wars.
Yes.
I mean, that's what you guys are doing here.
And we encourage you, if you have inclinations, to create content. Because here's the sad truth. If you go on YouTube and you search Brie Larson, you're going to get pages and pages of people either in the Grifterverse or trying to get a piece of that pie. And it's just thumbnail of unflattering edits and photoshops of Brie Larson and Captain Marvel and all of that stuff. We need to drown that out. So the more creators who are genuine and good faith about their content, the better.
Time Trav says, how do you guys feel about fanfics, and what do you know about the legal challenges, if any? Well, I feel like Sawyer knows more about fanfics than I do.
If you want to hear more about fanfiction, you should check out Yap Sesh podcast, where we talk about fanfiction a lot, and also other female-dominated areas of fandom. Here's what I'll say. Every Star Wars author that exists definitely writes fan fiction.
Yes.
And I don't know what you're meaning in terms of like you're not going to get in trouble if you read a Star Wars fan fiction, if that's what you're concerned about. You're definitely but also as long as you keep it anonymous, it's totally fine. Your fan fiction is not going to get published as a Star Wars novel, but it's considered a part of the fan base. So read it, write it, consume it however you please. Fan fiction is a huge part of the fandom, I think. Huge part of a lot of fandoms.
And you know what's fun is it's always been like, and it's such a weird thing to wrap my brain around, because in 1980 when The Empire Strikes Back came out, there was people who was disappointed, and they had to shut down their fanzine that had been going on. But I'm like, the first movie was all that existed, and it was out like they had like this. The fanfic has just been a thing in all fandoms forever, and it's just weird to think about how it existed before the internet was a big thing, and it was just people sending him around. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's existed for a long time. It started, the first fan fictions were Kirk and Spock.
or
Yeah,
the Ebon Hawk ones. I think those are the ones that Sawyer actually read to us. Is this Sawyer? Or was that you or was that Hannah?
That was
I was
both of
probably
them on a
both.
live. On a TikTok live. No, what's interesting the other thing that's really interesting about that space is, like you said, there's so many women in having the space. There's a lot of people from all communities, and it's really, they have their own issues. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes they can be a bloodbath over there, but it's interesting. It was eye-opening for myself to see how what I saw as the fan base, which was based off of my physical friends and people actually knew me, was just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah. I do have hardline guidance from Lucasfilm from when I was writing Echoes of the Past. And it's very, very simple. It cannot be for profit, and you cannot seek commercial distribution. That's it. So
Yeah.
post
That
your
being said-
fanfics. And that's it.
That being said, there's been plenty of Star Wars fanfics that or have taken inspiration from Star Wars and have turned into other things, and then you get we're getting a movie soon, right?
Yes.
Who's our most recent example of that? Who's that?
Alex,
I
who was
think-
on
Yes.
Oh yeah.
who was on our first High Republic, laying on the high ground. Yeah, hers was based off of them, but turned into I can't remember the premise. I apologize.
I know that there's also I forget his name. Garcia also wrote a fanfic, and then it actually got picked up by FacPov. I think that was the same story with Daniel Jose Older as well. Like, they wrote fanfics and they got picked up by Lucasfilm to write like an actual canon version in FacPov. Which is that's
the other thing is Star Wars authors also read fanfic.
Which is the path I'm trying to take with my FacPov, or our FacPov of Chimere. And and Vernestra.
Yeah, so write it to bust it out. Plenty of them come out in chapters where there are complete work in progresses. So yeah, start putting it out there.
Also, like AO3 and like fanfic aggregators and where you can post fanfics are also a good place for alpha and beta readers. So I mean, just write it.
Who you calling a beta reader?
No, Choco, you're obviously a
No,
Sigma
I'm offended.
reader.
I'm a Sigma reader.
You can't be Sigma. You're black. Remember? You're a DEI reader.
I positive Riz reader.
What was the thing they said about well, first it's pronouns ugh, but they also start saying things about pink hair now and blue hair. Blue and pink hair is their, for some reason, is their boogeyman. I guess.
Don't even.
Hello from Oklahoma, y'all. How's it going, Jeffrey S. Craig? I feel like there should be an Esquire after that. Jeffrey S. Craig Esquire. That's good to know. Thanks. I don't care about making any money. Just want to get the story out there. Absolutely.
Do it.
Do it. Legacy of the Boo says Brie Larson has no bad angles. Yeah, which is why they have to Photoshop it. Honestly, none of the people that they excuse me. None of the people
Started
that
to
they
sound like Cookie Monster there for a second.
Cookie. None of the people that they actually harp about have bad angles. They literally Photoshop them unflatteringly. You know, or it's like a photo that they don't know that they're being taken, right? Which everybody's gonna have an unflattering photo that they don't know that it's being taken of them.
Unless you're Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother.
True.
Sorry.
I'm a spooky kitty says, dude stole both my jokes? Who? I don't steal jokes. Yeah, I steal jokes. Yeah.
Okay, you said shoot. I've read 1,000 X-Files fics. I didn't realize. I didn't realize X-Files had that. It makes sense. I'm not surprised. I just didn't know.
When you say keep it anonymous, is that a rule or just a word to the wise? I don't think you have to keep it anonymous. I think for the most part, authors that professionally write under contract for, let's say, Random House or DK or any other publisher, they have to write fanfics under a pseudonym for those purposes. But if you're not under contract with any publisher, write under your own name.
Yeah,
it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's just once they pick you up, like it could be perceived as a way to I don't know. You'll be fine.
I also just think it's in some of the contracts too. Like,
yeah. You
cannot write other material under this name. You know, so you just gotta use a pseudonym. I think that's how pseudonyms came to be.
I'm pretty sure they came to be because of misogyny.
That could be the case too. Yeah. Okay.
A lot of women started writing under men pen names.
Let's move on to our main segment, the return of Mace Windu.
This is the main segment.
Listen, sometimes our main segments are like 5 minutes long, just because we've been vamping, just improvising for like an hour. But you know, the main conversation, of course, around Mace Windu will come when everyone's read the book. But
I was getting fan fiction vibes from the preview.
Mace Windu, The Glass Abyss, is coming out next week on the 16th.
Can we talk about how it comes in a purple envelope?
Yes.
It was pretty.
Also,
pretty cool.
it comes with. Well, it doesn't come with this, but came with this.
Yes.
And so now I have a Jedi on top of the Jedi pin. But this is explicitly what we're talking about when we talk about the return of Mace Windu. This is a story that takes place after Qui-Gon's funeral in Phantom Menace. Qui-Gon has a favor to ask of Mace Windu as a last rite, or basically a last kind of like I suppose his why am I forgetting this idiom? Last will and testament, I suppose. Anyways,
I mean, his last rites, yeah, it works.
He has a mission that he's asking Mace Windu to do, and what's exciting about this book is that it is our first canon Mace Windu book since Shatterpoint. It is also in the same vein as Shatterpoint, because Glass Abyss, like, you don't get any closer to a Shatterpoint than Glass. It also has a pretty cover, like KG says. I think this book is going to give us a lot of what we've been asking for. Particularly, and
put some respect on my boy's name.
Yeah, I think so. I've only read the first 6 chapters, but even then, I'm not going to speak on anything that we've learned thus far. But I think this book is going to give us a lot of what we've been clamoring for with Mace, which is, like Chaco said, put some respect on the name. Also, like, every book that we've read thus far in canon, when it comes to Anakin, has always given us Anakin's view of Mace. It's like every time Mace speaks, Anakin's like, why does he hate me? Like, why does he want me to fail? And then, like, on the flip side, Mace is like, he's a good kid. You know, it's like, I think that's largely what we're going to get in terms of, like, interpersonal commentary. But of course, I think we're gonna canonize Shatterpoint. I really do. Shatterpoint in concept is canon by virtue of Palpatine saying in Aftermath, I sense a Shatterpoint. But it's not as explicit as it is in Legends, where it is a specific technique that Mace uses in concert with Vopad. So, but I think for sure, because, you know, the jacket description says he goes to a glass world, and so, like, I feel like there's going to be an instance where he has to use the Force to find a weakness in this glass, you know, find a Shatterpoint. Sawyer, what do you think after reading the synopsis of this? What are you expecting to read about? What are you thinking Mace is gonna encounter in this book?
I don't know if you want to hear my thoughts.
No, go ahead.
No, I think this is going to be a really exciting adventure. I'm looking forward to it after reading the what is it called? The
synopsis?
The Living Force?
The synopsis. No. Like no, I think it is going to give Mace the spotlight that he deserves, first of all. I just was very perplexed by reading the synopsis because I never previously considered... I mean, it's valid. It's absolutely valid, the relationship that the Jedi have with each other. But when I think about the relationships between Jedi, I tend to think about the High Republic and how that looks. And I think that whatever Mace Windu thought of Qui-Gon, or any of the other Jedi that he was closely associated with, is going to be a very different... Like, if I was a Star Wars author and I was given the task to write a relationship between 2 Jedi in the prequel era, I would go back to the High Republic to look at that and go, okay, how does this differ? Because we see it in the Acolyte as well, like how there's a shift in how Jedi start to relate to one another. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what, because it does say that Mace was a little bit, hesitant about Qui-Gon's unconventional ways, but he's fulfilling this last request for him nonetheless. So I'm curious to see that in particular, like why he feels driven to do this for Qui-Gon.
What about you, Chaco?
Yeah, I mean, same. I haven't started it yet because I'm finishing up this other story, but it's interesting because I do feel like they go hand in hand, right? Because in the story, it is Mace that gives them this mission, and they kind of talk. The subject of Qui-Gon pops up, and like one of the big things is Qui-Gon will work with a gangster. You know, Qui-Gon will work with like actual criminals to help on his mission, which would be something where Mace would be like, we can't work with him, you know? And those are the type of ways they butt heads. I just want some meat, right? That's what I'm looking for, because there's a lot of weird assumptions that bubble up out of seemingly nowhere, or other feelings being, you know, spread or, you know, overlaid on top of, you know, my boy Mace Windu. And so I'm happy to get some actual canon facts, you know. Give me some hard proof. That's what I want.
Which is another thing I'm trying to avoid. On the rear of the jacket, it says, "Darkness without light and light without darkness are both blinding." And I wanna get out ahead of the crowd. It does not mean he uses both the light and the dark. I think it's a quote commenting on the natural state of the Force. Okay, like we've been saying before, like we've been saying for years. The natural state of the Force is a cycle between light and dark, death and decay, and rebirth and life. And of course, the desire to control the dark is what is imbalance. Cal4 on the Twitch side says that's an amazing quote. Dyad love. Appreciate you, Cal. I'm a Spooky Kitty says, didn't Mace dabble in the dark side? I'll let you handle that, Choco.
He did not. So the technique of Vapad allows him to really tap into the emotions of battle, and also into, you know, the emotions of his opponent. So essentially, what would be happening is he would become kind of a conduit of their emotion flowing through him and out. So they together made like a full circuit. And so it's only in battle, but it's not him channeling the dark side by any means. He actually specifically says something. One of the quotes is that he passes through the penumbra of the dark side, which people seem to think means he passes through it, but it's no, that means pass through like the shadow of something, like you're near it but not through it.
To kind of qualify that concept, numbra or umbra is shadow in Latin. Pen means next to, or just think of the word penultimate means the second to last. Penumbra means the edge of the shadow. It doesn't go straight into the umbral darkness. It's just right on the edge there. And that's why Vapad is described as a dangerous technique. Because without the discipline that Mace exhibits, anyone trying to use Vapad, including Deppa, I believe, canonically uses it, they would easily fall to the dark side. It is that, I don't want to use the word edge in that way, but it is that dangerous of a technique where it could easily turn into dabbling in the dark side. But the whole point of Vapad and how Mace utilizes it is to remain in the dark. Well, I mean, remain in the light.
Yeah.
While using
It's
Master James Kenobi says, in The Living Force, I think it's great how Qui-Gon challenges the Council, and the Council are like, well, we can't let Qui-Gon win the argument. I mean, I think that's generally the case. That's why they invite him to the Council to begin with, you know. They appreciate his you know, critical thinking, his individual thinking, and, you know, I think for the most part, the general consensus of the council isn't really we can't let Qui-Gon win, but it's like basically he has a point, and if we don't act on this, he's going to be correct about his views on us. So, I mean, in a sense, we can't let Qui-Gon win, but also like he would be absolutely correct about us if we ignore him. But yeah. So kind of like that fighting style where you can use the opponent's momentum against them. Yes. Tai Chi, Aikido, Hapkido. Cal says
waterbending.
So I mean, I feel like this book has a lot of work to do in terms of making Mace feel like he's not Coach Carter. I mean, he is, but optics wise, it needs to pull a fast reversal on a lot of people's thinking of Mace as it pertains to people who only know Mace from the prequels. Because even in the Clone Wars, Mace is so much better. He not in terms of as a character, but in terms of optics, like they show a much more nuanced side of how he deals with Anakin and how he deals with the things that he deals with in the prequels, but there's just more time to explore him, you know. Blue Eagle Gamer says he better be like the 2D animated Mace, straight punching through groids. I like that typo.
I mean, him fighting on Dantooine is canon.
Yeah.
We don't get the specifics of it, so it's not quite the same. But
it's equally embellished.
That's
right?
my dude.
Isn't the reference to it like they were like, oh yeah, he destroyed a legion on Dantooine or something. It says just his arc with Jar Jar made him more likable. Every time you see him in the Clone Wars, like I feel like people act like he's mean and all this stuff. He never does anything mean, you know. The only thing is when he said "citizen" to Ahsoka after she had said it back. And she said it first.
Yeah. She said it first, and he was kind of right. He was kind of right up with everything. That's all I'm saying. I feel like Star Wars is like, hey, if you do these bad things, you might fall to the dark side. So please don't do them. And Anakin immediately doing all of those things and then falling to the dark side, and people being like, well, it's your fault, Mace Windu, because you weren't nice to me when I was doing the things that would lead to me falling to the dark side. And you're like,
yeah.
That's like getting mad that I yelled at you to not touch the stove, and then you touch it and get burned, and you're like, what's your fault because you yelled at me? You're like, no, no, it's not. Come on.
This guy wants to see me burned. Which is apt for a guy like Anakin.
Dim Herman says, I really wouldn't like Mace Windu to come back, if that's what you guys are talking about. So we're talking about the return of him in canon form. This book takes place after episode 1 in the timeline. So yes, this isn't him coming back at the end. And I am one that definitely doesn't want him to come back.
No, he
just
did.
because.
I'm sorry to anybody who disagrees, but he's dead.
Yeah. No, they had to take a big spatula and get him off the sidewalk. That's where he is.
Sawyer, is there any other book from this time period that you think needs to be told, in the same vein as The Glass Abyss? I know I ambushed you with that question. That goes for the chat as well.
You know,
I'll give you an example. I would love a Plo Koon book or a Kit Fisto book.
Yeah, give me the story of Plo Koon finding Ahsoka. You know, I'm curious because he wasn't really a seeker.
that'd be
was he?
good. You know, give me like a Jedi Council book about all of the Glup Shadow Council members. Give me that.
Yeah.
Give me a Coleman.
A Yaddle book?
Give me a Coleman Trevor origin story. Just because.
A Coleman
Just
Trevor origin
because.
story
Yeah.
written by Josh.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a new book. Neat. Yes, it's called The Glass Abyss by Stephen Barnes. It's coming out next week. So if you
Yeah.
ever wanted to read about Mace Windu in the canon side, pick it up.
So, Cal and Mel said, to be fair, Anakin did so much, especially in the Clone Wars, that showed his potential to be a master, and Windu only saw the bad. So, but I don't know where people get that Windu only saw the bad. So, Anakin not being made a master was not Mace Windu's decision. That was the entire council talking together to determine whether or not he was ready for that step. And he honestly wasn't. You know, one of the requirements is to have a Padawan that becomes a knight, and his Padawan famously left. But more than that, your skill at war is not going to be a determining factor to being on the council. That's not what they look at. But more specifically, his spot on the council wasn't his. It was a proxy seat for Palpatine. So basically, there's always been 12 council members, right? Palpatine was like, I want a spot on this council, and I'm going to have Anakin sit in the seat. So even then, it would have been as a proxy member. You know, if he would vote for something, he'd be voting as Palpatine. And so that's kind of the other reason is he wasn't nominated for the council. He didn't
have a seat.
Earn that position. And I mean, it's not to say he never would have earned it, right? I mean, there's 10,000 Jedi running around and a 12-member council. Anakin did a lot of cool stuff, a lot of good stuff. We also have to remember that whole time he also was hiding his murder and a lot of other things.
I also want to say that these are the types of sentiments that I'm hoping this book shines a light on, because a lot of people don't remember Mace going to bat for Anakin in Attack of the Clones. There's a scene where Mace is very much talking up Anakin, and Obi-Wan is the one that's showing hesitance. Like it was Mace, Yoda, and Obi-Wan walking into the halls, and Mace starts off by saying, Anakin is showing a lot of progress, and you know, he's showing a lot of skill. And Obi-Wan is like, I still feel like he has a long way to go, like, to learn. And Mace literally says, like, but isn't he supposed to be the chosen one? Like, the sentiment that he only saw the bad is, it's an Anakin take.
Do you guys think Windu knew he was getting a seat in the council after that mission in Trials of the Jedi Episode 3?
No.
No, I don't think so.
He literally
And what's-
says to Dooku, "I didn't know this was going to happen."
Yeah. And so the thing I feel like a lot of people miss is Mace Windu is the least political. He just follows the rules, and he's like, if I follow these and I protect, Jedi, then things will work well. And that's all. Then that's all he cares about. And I actually really like him in that specific episode because they both notice that the details don't add up, and that more happened to Master Katri. They just disagree with what to do with that information. Mace wants to give it to the council so that they can put a plan of action together. Dooku wants to jump in and attack right there. Mace Windu says, I disagree. But what does he do? He goes there with Dooku and he backs him up. He was ride or die. He fought all of them off alongside Dooku despite disagreeing. Even though he's probably thinking, this is the reason why I didn't want to come directly here. I wanted to tell the Jedi first so we could plan this out. But yeah, he still stood beside him and fought. And then even when he got on the council, he didn't go to gloat. I feel like there's so many bad intentions people put on him that he's never displayed in any Star Wars.
Yeah. Christopher says more Count Dooku. Yeah, I would love even if it's a Tyrannus book, that would be pretty cool. James Kenobi wants more Rail Avaros.
I would love more Rail Avaros.
That would be funny if you said I would love more Rail. I want a story post Return, where Luke and the New Republic liberate an Imperial world, but they killed a family, which sets a child on a revenge journey to become a self-taught Sith. That's interesting.
I like it.
I feel like there's too much of that. I mean, just coming off of the Living Force. There was a child
and
from
the
an
Acolyte.
orphanage. And the Acolyte. There was a child from an orphanage that, there was this one Jedi that didn't follow protocol, and that led to them having a tough life, and they grew up vengeful with a vendetta. And then the Acolyte. The Acolyte also was a story of revenge.
It's just funny to point that out how Mace Windu gets flack for following these rules, but there's so many stories of tragedy that are all caused by Jedi not following the rules, right? That's what happened to Rail Avaros' Padawan. That's what happened, with in the Living Force. That's what happened with Anakin. That's what happened with Revan. It's just funny.
You know what? I would actually like that story if it did not result in them becoming a Sith. Just like in Living Force. The Jedi touched the galaxy in ways people can't imagine on a wide scale, and so there's bound to be ramifications for certain individual Jedi actions. So yeah, some of that would come back to bite them in the butt.
You know what? Give me a story of young Luke with the girl. Remember the purified girl with the purified white lightsaber, in Shadows of the Sith?
Yeah.
That basically was a follower of not the Sith Eternal, but the
Acolytes of the Beyond.
Acolytes of Beyond, Yupta Shoes thing, and so he helps liberate this person from this belief system that was super dark and all this stuff. And there's a story there, because they actually aren't really friends. There's a story. Some stuff went down. I want to know what that is.
All right, let's move on to hot takes. I know Sawyer's got some hot takes. What you got for us?
What is the segment?
We should say some hot takes. I mean,
Say
your piece.
It's a wind down where we say a hot take, and then you say your piece, and then we peace out.
I just say a hot take.
Yeah. Do you have any takes that you might think are hot?
I have a lot of takes that people tell me are hot takes but shouldn't be.
Well, we could start from there and build off of that one. Shout out to Akula in the chat. What's going on, Akula?
What's a hot take that I have currently? You might have to come back to me. I'm gonna think about it for a second.
All right. Here's some low-hanging fruit. If you're mad at sister, that sister exists, you're an idiot. I'm sorry. I don't know
if that's a hot take. I mean, seriously.
But that's what I mean. That's the kind of take that I would have, and then I would be told. I mean, I just like 10 minutes ago tweeted that trans people belong in Star Wars, and there's gonna be someone who's upset about that, but they're wrong.
I feel like when we say hot take, it's something to do with Star Wars as it pertains to Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like
so Calamel says, hot take, we need another evil faction besides the Empire.
I mean, there are plenty.
Which we do. But I don't feel like there's any ones that are truly evil. Like, I feel like the other ones, like the Empire is evil. There's people who are like, I have a mean agenda or something like that, but they aren't evil. You know what I mean? Like the Pikes are like, I'm just trying to sell drugs, and you're like, well, I mean that's bad, but are they evil?
We have Hondo's Pirates. They're not particularly evil. I think they are self-serving.
Like a major faction on the same level as the Empire.
I mean, we might see that with what Thrawn is doing on Dathomir.
Yeah.
Although on the same
like
level as the Empire, I mean that required a chosen one.
And I think I get what they're saying. Is like, you know, I would talk about this back in Legends. We had the Hapes Consortium, and that was a whole different side of space, right? We have like the Mandalorians are their own section of space, and there's a lot of them.
There's Tag. Yeah, there's the whole underworld too. Yeah. There's the Ascendants. So it's just takes like that, like literally like in universe that, like I could say, my hot take is Padme should never have fallen in love with Anakin. Like red flags from day one.
I can subscribe to that.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a story without it, but she really shouldn't have fallen in love with a guy like that.
I'm just saying it's believable to me. I see like a girl with like randomly like a borderline neo-Nazi boyfriend, and you're like, what are you doing? You're like, oh.
I have a hot take.
Go for it.
I don't know if this counts. I have always thought that Kanan's sacrifice in Jedi Knight could have been avoided.
Ooh. That's spicy.
I watched that and I went, this feels like the plot needed it to happen, not that it needed to happen in the context of what was actually happening in the story.
That's kind of, yeah, that's a bit hot. Yeah, I would say that's a hot take.
Yeah, that's a good one.
How would you so how would you go about avoiding that? Like, where does it
I just think they all could have gotten on the ship and escaped before the explosion. I just think there was plenty of time, and that it was
so it was a Jack and Rose situation.
No, seriously, it really was. I watching that, because I didn't watch Rebels until I was a grown adult. I was like, what? Why? He could have gotten on board. What the heck?
So your what if episode would have been just keep running? Don't turn around.
Yeah, I don't think he needed to turn back and do that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can get behind that. I think for sure there's a lot of scenarios in Star Wars where we're just kind of like, just keep going. Like, that's true. Yeah. Of course, just like my hot take with Padme, it's like, yes, it was needed for the catalyst for Ezra and Hera, and for basically the whole crew to kind of galvanize. But yeah, he could have just kept running. Let's see here. Hot take.
Sakura goes out the same way.
Padme should have been concerned about Anakin's dreams about her in episode 3 and paid for some really good doctors with all of her money. Yeah, I mean, this goes hand in hand with my hot take. I think as soon as he says the women and the children too, there should have been some kind of recoil there.
Also, I would just like to, point out that Padme literally did have amazing medical care. She had her own like moon facility to herself. You know what I mean? I don't think it would have. I don't think it would have helped. That's all I'm saying.
Hera and Ezra needed to hug at the end of Ahsoka, and Chopper needed to tase him. I like, so my hot take in that regard is Ezra should have said, "I'm Jabba the Hutt." Is that considered like a pseudo meta glupshido? Where like Hera's like,
I guess
Ezra.
it's
He's
very
like,
on the nose, yeah.
it's like, no, I'm Jabba the Hutt. Akula says Sakura doesn't die for it though. Would have been a better story-wise if Padme survives. You know, that's a good what if to entertain. Could you imagine if Padme did survive, and like at the end of Return, she comes out and she's like, "Hello, my son." I don't know. This is just off the cuff.
I mean, I can imagine Palpatine trying to talk to her with his new enforcer, and her not knowing or not being sure, but it is him, and how that might play out. I mean, it could really like amplify showing exactly what Anakin lost by his choice.
Yeah. I have another hot take that deals with the Rise of Skywalker. And this isn't an argument. This isn't an argument for lightsaber go burr and pew pew. But that final battle was pretty anticlimactic. In particular, when both Rey and Ben square up. There could have been a great set piece where them fighting as a dyad against Palpatine would have been cool. You know? And this is why I preface this by saying it's not an argument for Burr and Pew Pew. It's just they both square up. They're together finally as the dyad. And like Palpatine flicks and kind of just sends Ben into the abyss like very quickly. I would not have a problem with that being the outcome of it, but they could have fought a little bit as the dyad together, you know. Is that not a hot take? Is that something that people would love to see? Dang.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I came in with a refrigerator take.
Hot take. It's better that Jango Fett is not a Mandalorian.
Agree.
Agreed. I think that's a toaster take right there. Little bit.
With us, I think with more people,
which gave me
being one, but like
it gave me an idea for
Like
next week.
he'd be such a crappy Mandalorian if he was one, and he just
Yeah.
never cared about the planet or the people, never talked about it, never.
Like he comes in on like in the 3rd season of The Mandalorian, and he's the one that goes, why are we going to fight? And then Boba Fett comes in and goes, because we're Mandalorians. And then they all look at him like, huh? Who is this guy? Where have you been? We've been fighting for our planet for 30 years. Almost 30 years. Yeah. That gives me an idea for next week's Everything You Know About Star Wars is Wrong. Jango and Boba are not Mandalorians.
Have you guys heard of the Fandom Initiative? They do good work, and a collab with them would be seamless with this channel.
Have not.
Is
I've
that the
heard Nerd
same as the Nerd Initiative? Is that their YouTube channel? Because I will make it happen.
Yeah, always down to collab with anybody that wants to fight back and just create a space for Star Wars fans to talk about Star Wars. Because that's the message that I always get from people who find us. It's like, I've always wanted to just talk about Star Wars, but I couldn't. Every time I talked about it, you know, people just do some stupid ass shit. A coolest hot take is we should have gotten Saber Staff Rey. I agree with that. I mean, you introduce a character with a quarterstaff and you don't give us a staff saber. It's kind of, or even a polearm saber. It's kind of like, why? And then you even had the hinge saber of the dark ray. It's just like, do you think that saber staffs are inherently dark side? Well, like, why did you go back on that? Yeah, I agree. Jordan in chat says, appreciate all having Sawyer's back out there in these streets. Of course. I regret not having her back in the way that I was there, but that'll change next time. Even though I'm not going to Tokyo. It just screams of thoughts and prayers. But like I always say to people going to cons, travel in large groups. And I'm sad. It's unfortunate that I wasn't there. But just to kind of comment on it a little bit, I don't think he would have said the same thing to Dave Filoni. Seriously, I don't think he would have said anything to anyone at Lucasfilm. And I think Dave Filoni would have knocked him out. Don't think he's scared of that. Akula says, this is my year to go to cons. Awesome, man.
Hey, if you come out to California, let me know. I want to get to more cons this year.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess next year, but you know what I mean.
Callum Mel says, I think J.J. Abrams disliked the double lightsabers. Did he?
But why did he give Dark Ray one?
Yeah. I don't know. If he did, screw him. But like, seriously. Yeah, he gave Ray a double-bladed lightsaber.
That would have been such an interesting fight.
Yeah. And like, also, could you imagine like during the fight, it gets bisected, and that's what Ben uses? The other half.
Ooh.
We're cooking.
Mm-hmm.
And if he doesn't like double lightsabers, or at least the appearance of one, why give her a staff to begin with? You know, JJ is the one that started it all. JJ gave her a staff, put Luke in isolation, in exile, and now Rian Johnson is the one that pays for that setup. Which brings me to another hot take. People who hate The Last Jedi and harp on Rian Johnson don't know shit about film. don't know shit about film or directing. Because they overlook a certain thing he directed that is universally hailed as the best episode in television history. Can you guess what that is, Chaco?
Ozymandias.
Yes.
He also did the Fly episode. He makes bangers. But that
I also love the Knives Out series.
Mm-hmm.
Hot take, Dark Ray actually has a nice home right there in the Death Star ruins, and she was mad that Real Ray just came in and took her cool triangle.
There you go.
That's my toy.
I still laugh because I swear when he picks it up, I thought it was a foot. It's just the way it shot.
You can't even say it with a straight face.
When he picks up the Wayfinder, to me it looked like a foot steps on it to stop it, and then grabs it, and it starts going up, and I'm like, oh, it's a hand, and it hits my brain weird. I want you to rewatch the scene. Tell me, I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but
No, because then I'm not going to be able to unsee it.
yeah, it looks like he stops with his foot, and then the foot morphs into a hand.
I mean, Tim agrees. I never saw it that way. I can see how it looks that way, because it looks like, you know, like when the character slides the gun across the floor in movies, and then the person stomps on it. Last
I
Jedi
was
was the best
so
of the prequels?
confused.
Or the Last Jedi was the best of the sequels?
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, yeah, it was. There's a lot of people actually, over the years that I've met, there's a lot of people that love The Rise of Skywalker.
I do.
Famously.
I actually had Jacob on, and he's going to come on this show soon. Big proponent for Rise of Skywalker, and such a pleasure to talk to. Had a great conversation.
What happened to me being on your show? You were like, "Hey, are you free?" And I said yes, and next week, and then nothing.
No, you said how about this week, and it's the same day we're going to be on your podcast. But I was going to revisit it.
Oh,
But
okay.
that's the last thing is you said how about this day, and then that's the
No,
same.
I was talking about my podcast, not your podcast. When I asked you that.
She wants to go on the high ground, man.
No, that's what I'm talking. I was originally trying to get her on the high ground, and then I have had some family stuff go on recently, so things have been scattered.
I'm just teasing you.
We like to tease Chaco about that, you know.
I mean, I do want to be on high ground, but I am just teasing you.
It's also not a lie that, you know, he doesn't respond.
Yeah.
Hot take, Last Jedi is better than Return of the Jedi in the first two prequels?
Yeah.
To me, yes. I mean, my list is Empire, Last Jedi, and Revenge. And then it goes Return, Return, Force, and Attack. So there's two sequel movies that are before the first two prequels. No, wait, no. I said Return first. Never mind. But yeah, The Last Jedi is better. Hot take, all Star Wars is good Star Wars. I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's how we all feel. I think our podcasts, in particular when we have guests, are always great conversations. Because no matter what our favorites are, we can have a conversation. But
Yeah.
if we go to like the Grifterverse, it's just like, oh, these things are woke, right? It's trash. Like, yeah, and then that's it. That's all that they can kind of commiserate on.
Jordan Wright says OT has the best lightsaber duels.
I disagree with that, but
I agree with
that's
it.
Their,
it's my.
It's their opinion. It's. I know
oh yeah,
you
no, but I
those.
mean, like, 2 of the top 3 for me are in the original trilogy. So,
it all depends on how you look at the duels and what you're scoring it on, like what your personal criteria is for duels.
My personal criteria is always going to lean into storytelling. What is the story that is being conveyed by this? Are the characters and who they are being exemplified, and their journey being exemplified by the choreography? Like, what does that tell me? The way Luke fights, what does that tell me about Luke? We see how he changes, how he fights from 5 to 6. I love that. We see Vader.
Sorry.
Good.
Akula just said I was today years old when I found out Gwendolyn Christie was Phasma. Akula, my dude. Since 2014, you didn't know? Are you a true fan? I'm just kidding. Just teasing you.
I miss when sabers were super difficult to wield.
We never saw her face, but it's in the marketing material. I mean, in this regard, I think the Rise of Skywalker Death Star 2 duel is one of the best. It is one of the best depictions of the two fighters' emotions against each other. Right? Yeah. Because most of the time, that's why the duel in Return holds a special place in my heart. It is these duels between people who are fighting that shouldn't be. Right. Yeah. Luke with his dad trying to turn him, and then Rey with Ben trying to turn him, and then we have all the others between adversaries, right? Maul and Obi-Wan, and although Twin Sons, even though it's not a movie, still a great duel as well.
Yeah, also the storytelling with the thigh touch. I mean,
Throne room scene is also up there. Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm more into. Is what is being conveyed. What do we learn about these characters, and where do we go after the fight?
Yeah.
I don't want to be a buzzkill, but it is 10:30 and I really need to eat dinner.
That's fine. We'll just go for another hour. Tate says, read Battle of Jakku Insurgency Rising for clear skin. I'll take that. Kula says, eat on stream. Impromptu mukbang. Maybe. We also, well, the both of us also, it is approaching dinner time for us too. Let's see. One more hot take. Not every lightsaber fight has to be super choreographed. Duel akin to Obi-Wan and Anakin. Agreed on all fronts. I think for the most part, for all of us sitting here, lightsaber duels is a vessel for storytelling first and foremost. And the emotions and the what is being put forth by the characters are always priority number one. And that's why when we see videos being like, oh, they're just swinging them like bats, just like, well, think about why. Because, Kylo Ren is unstable, his lightsaber is heavy, and Rey, still only having a year of training, is still kind of contending with that. And even then, she's lost that fight. So I want to thank Sawyer for being on this episode. I hope that you're feeling strong and feeling supported. You're surrounded by people who love you, who stand with you, And I want to thank everyone on all platforms for tuning in and sticking around and having this conversation with us. This is what Dyad and the Force is all about. It's about conversations, it's about discourse, and it's about loving Star Wars. Sawyer, once again, what's happening on the 15th? And if you want to plug anything else that you've got going on in your life, where can people find you? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so I'm Sawyerism on literally every platform imaginable. SAWYERURISM. Yep, SAWYEURISM. That's right. And on October 15th, we are doing our first rendition of the Star Wars Book Club with Element and Chaco. We are going to be talking about Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule on my YouTube channel. So stop by and participate in the conversation. I'm really looking forward to it. And if you're looking for a podcast about diverse perspectives in fandom, check out Yap Sesh Podcast. We're on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. And that is a project that I'm really passionate about. So please check that out. We've got a lot of wonderful guests on that show. And we're on a little bit of a hiatus now, but we should be back in a couple weeks. But yeah, that's where you can find me, and that's where my stuff is.
Awesome. Chaco, I feel like you have something pertinent to say with how close you are from eating it.
Nope. Just to end. I would thank you for coming on, Sawyer, and for everyone in the chat for hanging out. But we gotta get this lady some food.
Yeah, that'll do it for this episode of Dyad and the Force. Remember, love Star Wars the way you love Star Wars. And that's all that matters at the end of the day. But that's it. On to the next one.
For Light and for Life.
We are all rat ghouls.
Jeez.
We are all Star Weirds.
Yeah, and may Manjupla haunt your dreams.
Later, y'all.